Now again, once again, oh wait a minute, I gotta wait for the signal. All right, let's stop the congregation congregating around the front or back door there too. Let's keep that open. As I started to say, once again, we're indebted to a talent scout for bringing our next presenter to us. He knows a lot about her, has produced the audio tapes that are available or will be available to you after this of his interview with her, the 3 audio tape set, and has spent a lot of time with her. So it's my pleasure tonight to present Ken Elliott, who will present Judy Goodman. Welcome, Ken Elliott, tonight, right now, please.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. How many people are here involuntarily? You got drugged along by a wife or somebody or a girlfriend? Everybody volunteer? Well, there's one. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I've done this before. Okay, so we got a lot of volunteers. That's amazing. Pretty serious group. Well, I get to do this a lot, but I want to tell you that I don't often get to introduce Judy to, number one, a group this large, or a group this special. I'm just going to let that sit out there for a moment. There are some extremely gifted people here, beyond my imagination. And there have been some remarkable things happen in this weekend. Some little miracles, some bigger miracles. There's a great big wave coming out of this place, and I'm glad you're all here to be a part of it. A great big wave coming out of this place. Enough of that. Let me tell you about Judy. There are not very many people in the world who were born seeing and hearing and knowing spirit. So since birth, Judy wakes up in the morning, there's a whole bunch of people in the room. Knows them by name, knows and knows and knows. Another interesting thing about Judy that is most unusual is that when she goes to sleep at night, she is out of body. She's fully conscious. She goes wherever she wants to go. A couple of times she's had to ask permission. And when she comes back, she has full memory. So that means that Judy is in touch with the spirit side, the real world, 24 hours a day. I can't imagine that, but that's a fact. She has a remarkable, a master's grasp of the fundamentals and the subtleties of energy. And that's all there is. So you're going to meet a very experienced speaker with great depth, with a humor to match. And now I'm just going to get out of the way. Oh, one thing. She will have be a part of the Prophecy Conference on Sunday from 3:40 to 5 o'clock. That's tomorrow. And then she'll have a workshop on Monday from 1:30 to 4:30. And in the back, where the sunflowers are, you'll see this set of tapes that I had the honor to be a part of, as if I had anything to do with it, really. And it's a 4.5-hour interview where I got to write down all the questions I could think of. And for a change, Judy sat still and answered most of them. And you get the same opportunity tonight. So I give you Judy Goodman.
Well, hello, Denver, and hello, everybody. It is a real pleasure for me to be here with you. And since I got to town on Wednesday, I've had the honor of sitting out in the lobby and looking at a lot of you in very special ways. And I got to tell you, standing up here is like getting a big hug. and my energy's adjusting, so just bear with me just a minute while I get where I'm supposed to be. I'm going to tell you about some extraordinary things in just a minute. This is going to be a night that will change your life forever. Now, that's a big statement. There's some very, very important things going to happen tonight, and I'll describe all that to you in just a little bit. Nice to see so many smiling faces. Pardon my southern accent. I get teased about that once in a while. Arkansas? No, it's Georgia. I understand we have quite a few people from Georgia. I woke up this morning at 3:30, or shall I say I got my wake-up call at 3:30 from Spirit. And all day long I have been working, adjusting, getting in tune with what's going to be happening tonight. I had the opportunity to have a lot of you in spirit with me because there are some very profound needs in this group. There are some profoundly gifted people in this group. So a number of you were with me this morning. We've been doing some work, getting ready for some changes and some things that are going on. Well, when I got my wake-up call, I never know what I'm going to talk about. Never know. I mean, I get a general idea, but sometimes it changes once my feet hits the platform, so I never quite know where we're going with this. And I'm going to tell you about my wake-up call in just a moment, but before I do that, is Dean, Phyllis, Carol, Dennis, are you here? Can you come up in front, please? I hate to ask Phyllis because Phyllis, we've worked them all pretty hard. And I suspect that most of you know that Dean and Phyllis are celebrating their 50th anniversary, which is a remarkable thing within its own right. I just wanted to take a moment and recognize some very, very special people. It takes courage, on the one hand, to step out and do this kind of thing. It takes an awful lot of work. It takes devotion and dedication. And I think it's only appropriate that we recognize the efforts of these people as they allow us to come together, to visit, to grow, to unite, to expand our thought process, and to move on in life, and to bring about changes that are phenomenal. So join me in recognizing and thanking. And if I could get the whistle away from him, I would. I want that whistle. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Thank you. I bet. These little door prizes they've been giving away, I think we've been missing a bet by not getting whistles. What do you think? I think we ought to all have a whistle. Energy still adjusting. Okay. Let me tell you what my wake-up call was about this morning. I still don't even know what we're going to talk about tonight, but we'll get to that in a minute, I guess. But what I was specifically told about is the workshop. The workshop is going to be completely interactive. There is no question you cannot bring to the workshop, no topic, no subject that you cannot bring and get an answer. It's going to be completely open forum across the board. Every topic that you want an answer on will be addressed. Anything from the energies at the Great Pyramids, what's going on with them, how the vibrations about those are changing and what those changes mean, and how those changes are simultaneous with other things that are going on and a lot of the mysteries that are about to unfold. If some of you don't know the difference in spirit guides, guardian angels, and whatever, you can ask that question and we'll address that. If you don't know anything about auras and energies, we'll address that. We will go from the very simplest to the most complex. And what I have been instructed to ask of you is this, to go ahead and start writing down your thoughts, the things that you want to discuss, the things that you want to know about. When we start the workshop, what I'd like for you to do, rather than giving me a long dissertation about what it is you want to know about, in the interest of fair play and in the interest of time and in the interest of covering the greatest amount of topics at one evening or one afternoon, give me 5 or 6 words. Don't be too terribly specific, because your needs about that will be known and will be understood. If you want to know about crop circles, just say, let's talk about crop circles. What I would ask of you is not to bring personal questions to that time frame, because this is a time for learning and for growing. This is a time for you to move to the next level. It is no accident that you're here tonight. There is no accidents. Earlier this year, I had the privilege of lecturing here in Denver, and I'm not even sure how it came about, but I had occasion to meet Dean. We sat down and we spoke for a little bit, and he asked me to come and be a part of this meeting tonight. I had no idea how profound that invitation was. I had no idea at the time the implications, the importance of what would be taking place. You have heard many gifted speakers already this evening talking about changes, talking about the chain of events that have been taking place over the last few days. There are many things that have been set into motion. So it is a profound time. It is an eventful time. It's an important time. And while I walk in both worlds and I see Spirit continuously, sometimes I see things that I don't like. Sometimes I see things that I don't want to talk about. And this evening, we probably will mention a few of those things. There's some great energy in here. I got to tell you, the one thing about me is it's real hard for me to talk about myself, and I'm probably the hardest person you'll ever meet to describe, because people say, who is she, what does she do? I don't know. You know, I don't know how to describe what this is all about. But the one thing that I do know is that I'm a teacher of teachers. I'm not a teacher of pupils. Did you hear what I said? A teacher of teachers. Now, what does that mean to you? That you're a teacher. You are not a pupil. You are a teacher. You are at an advanced level, or you would not be here tonight. I am not the only one that is at this Congress that has interesting things to say or interesting things to talk about. This is not the only truth. It's only part of it. You have had the opportunity to sit with many wonderful, many incredible speakers. Each of them have given you truths. And it takes all of those parts of the puzzle to make up the whole picture. So what I'm talking about tonight, or whatever we get into, is only part of the picture, and it's a truth, my truth. This is not about religion. It's not about religion. I am a deeply religious person. I have very, very strong personal beliefs. But I'm not here to tell you what my belief system is. And I'm not here to convert you. This is not about a following. It's not about a cult. Not about a happening. And we're not all going off in the tail of the comet. It's just not what it's about. What I would hope that you would do is listen to what is said tonight, take from it what you will, apply it in whatever way you can, disregard anything that doesn't fit, disregard anything that does not feel appropriate, and move on. I'd also like to thank you for taking the time to come. Thank you for being here. You know, it's not always easy for people to get up here in this place and stand and put their heart and soul up on display for everyone, and it does take an effort, but I realize that it takes an effort for you to be here. I realize some of you have to budget yourselves very carefully to have the money to be here. Some of you would not be here if it was not for the generosity of other people helping you to be here. So I thank you. I thank you for caring enough about yourself, your own spiritual growth. I thank you for caring about what's going on in the world. I thank you for taking time out of your life to come and share thoughts and ideas with not only myself, but with other people. There are display tables in the back, as all of you know. There are many incredible things back there. I have been absolutely amazed at some of the things that are back there. And when I got into town Wednesday, that was one of the first things I did. I started checking it out to see what was there, and I've gone back a number of times and I've looked. So I would encourage you to go back, take a look, honor the people that have taken time to bring their things here to interest us, help us, whatever. Go back and visit and look around and just spend some time, talk to them. You never know what you might learn. I learn a lot every time, and I learn a lot from you. And as I said, I have been sitting out in the area a good bit, and I've been watching a lot of you, and I've learned an awful lot from you. I've learned that there are many, many good people here, incredible people. So thank you for taking the time to be here. I'm going to describe to you what is taking place in the room as this evening begins. I sometimes wait until the end of the talk and I tell people what has been happening in the room, but this was one of those minor events that I was told this morning that I should share with you, because there are some profound things that are going to take place. So for the next few minutes, and I see some of you are writing a few things down, what I'd like for you to do while I talk to you for about the next 5 minutes or so, whatever's in your laps, I'd like for you to put everything down on the floor. Just free yourself up for just a few minutes, and then you can pick them back up in a minute. And I want you to just listen carefully to what I'm saying and open yourself up to the things that are about to begin taking place. The complete interior of this room, of this meeting place, from corner to corner, is becoming an open channel. We will not have an open channel without complete protection. Coming into the room now, you have to pardon me, sometimes I get emotional. Coming into the room now and surrounding the complete walls, shoulder to shoulder, are the most extraordinary angels that you can imagine. They're rather large, they're rather tall. They go from ceiling to floor. We will not have an open channel without God's guidance and God's protection. That's who I am. And that's the way it ought to be. Because we're looking for the highest truths, the best possible information that we can get, the straightest answers to whatever it is that we're going to be asking and talking about. So as these angels are slipping and easing down into place, if you visualize with me, again, ceiling to floor, shoulder to shoulder, the most extraordinary angels I've ever seen. And the angels are always with me when I'm talking, because we open the channel and I step into spirit and I'm hanging on to the physical body, trying to take care of that, but I become an open channel. I do not channel. The ceiling, if you could see what is happening, the ceiling disappears and we have a completely open ceiling. If you could see the energy, it might remind you something of Star Trek. You know when they say, beam me up, Scotty, and all the little light comes down and whatever, and the special effects. Well, they kind of have their own special effects too. So there's this extraordinary blue-white energy that is completely filling the entire room. The ceiling is opening, and above us is very much like a medical amphitheater. You know, you've seen movies or you've seen times when the surgeons are down working, and in a training facility you have chairs around so that people are observing. We have guests. There are many old masters. There are many wise ones. I could call names. I'm not going to unless I'm instructed to. You would understand who they are. You would recognize the names. So completely surrounding the perimeter through this open ceiling in spirit is an amphitheater where there are so many that I cannot begin to count them. There are those in spirit that are here with us. Their purpose in being with us is not to give us the answers tonight, but to share in what we're doing. You see, just because you leave the physical body, just because you step into spirit, that doesn't mean you have all the answers, and it doesn't mean you stop growing. And occasionally, we have wise ones that have been out there so long they have forgotten what it's like to walk in our shoes. And it's not that they don't care, it's not that they don't understand, and it's not that they don't try to give us information and try to help, but one of my greatest pet peeves with some of these wise ones is, don't sit out there and talk to someone who's dying from AIDS if you haven't been close enough to the earth to understand what AIDS is and how it destroys families and people. And don't tell me everything's okay if you don't understand what it means to file bankruptcy or to lose your home or to become a homeless person. So occasionally it's a good thing when some of those that are in spirit that work with us, some of those that have moved on, it's a good thing when they come back and get a little bit closer to us and find out what's going on. So they're not here to give us answers. They're here to share in our growth process. Now, additionally, with the people that are here, the old masters and the wise ones and many, many beautiful souls, there are other souls that have not advanced quite as far as they might like to. They might be in a confused state. They might have crossed recently. They may have been drinking and driving and got killed or killed someone else, and the crossing was very traumatic, and perhaps they have not even accepted the fact that they're dead. And we know you don't really die, but we'll use that word. We understand it's a transition, but I will use the word dead or die so you'll know what I'm talking about. So there are some souls that are also with us tonight that are learning, that are growing. So we got a big crowd. There are a lot of people here. There's a lot going on tonight. Now, before we go any further, because our channel is open wide now and everything's in place, everything's okay, I'd like for you to take a moment, and this is a gift to you, and this gift is not from me. This gift is from our Father, a supreme being, whatever you want to call it. We don't have to put religious connotations to it. Whatever you choose to identify with is one that is greater than us. So what I'm about to share with you is a gift. I'd like for you to close your eyes for a moment, and I would like for you to imagine that you've got a little suitcase sitting under your chair. And in that little suitcase, you're going to pack something in it, something that hurts your heart, hurts your soul, and it's going to be lifted away from you by the angels. It's going to be taken away from you. Now, before we go any further, let me say, be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. Be careful what you do, because it can happen. So I want you to take a moment, and I want you to think about the most horrific thing in your life, the most horrible thing in your life. Don't make your decision too quickly now. If you were abused as a child, I want you to think about that abuse. If that's what binds you up so that you can't grow, then I want you to think about that. If you abused someone, I want you to think about that. Whatever is the most horrible, the most horrific, the most painful thing in your life, I want you to think about it. Because I'm promising you, it's going to be lifted from you tonight. Your life is being changed tonight in a way that you cannot begin to understand. It may be days and weeks before some of you will know. Some of you will know before you walk out the doors tonight. Perhaps you lost a child. Perhaps you still grieve for that child. Perhaps the grief is overwhelming to the point that it chokes your life. Maybe that's what needs to be packed in that suitcase. Maybe that's what needs to be given up. Whatever the most horrific, the most horrible thing is that has affected your life, whatever the greatest pain is, if it's mental illness, if it's alcoholism, if it's drug addiction, sexual addiction, whatever it is. Now I want you to gently, with your imagination, I want you to visualize yourself packing it up in that little suitcase. And when you do, I want you to slip it back under your chair. And you won't know when that pain has been taken, but it will be removed from you. And while you still have your eyes closed, again, be careful what you ask for. You might just get it, and you know not in what manner it will come. And it is written, seek and ye shall find. So what I want you to do now is think of the thing that is more important to you than anything in the world. What is it that you need? Peace, joy, a new job, a job for someone else that's dear to you, to sleep well at night, to lose weight, to become a visionary. Oh, be careful about that one. That's a loaded one. What is the most incredible thing that could turn your life around? What joy, what peace, what happiness, what gift? What is the greatest thing that our Father, the Creator, the Supreme Being, what is it that your heart desires? And you see, you don't really need to say, because that's already known. But it is an opportunity for you to work through that to decide what is more important. Perhaps you want funding for a project you're working on. We could all use a little extra money. Maybe you'd like to be up here speaking at the next Congress. Now complete your thought process on that. And imagine yourself lifting it to the heavens, lifting it up through this open channel. Push it away. Let it go. It is done. It is done. Now open your eyes. Reach down and grab hold of the side of your chair. Got a good grip? Hang on. You're in for a ride. Okay. Now you can pick up your papers and your notes and whatever, and you can make notes. What I'd like to do, I'm going to tell you a story, a little bit, so you will know a little bit about me. There are so many unusual stories that circulate around me, and I forget them for the most part. I take them for granted. I don't even remember a lot of them, but I am going to tell you a story that is a favorite of mine, and people that have heard me lecture before, if it's a new group, they like for me to tell this story and give you a little opportunity to know a little bit about me and have a little insight into me. As I said, when we do the workshop, it will be a completely interactive workshop. It will be a completely open forum. Obviously, we can't cover everything here in the time that we have now, but about the last 15 minutes, and if someone will prompt me when we get to the last 15 minutes, I am going to let you start asking questions. And again, I apologize, but I cannot take personal questions. There's just not enough time. But about the last 15 minutes, I will take questions on any subject. And so when they prompt me, what I'd like for you to do, if you've got a particular subject in mind, go ahead and jot it down now so that you won't forget it, just in case we don't cover it, and we might not. And then I'll just ask you to go ahead and move to the microphone very quickly, get in place so that we don't lose any time. And when you ask your questions, if you would please, you know my name. I know some of the names, but I won't necessarily know your name. Just tell me who you are when you get up to the microphone and ask the question, tell me who you are, and then we'll go from there. So about the last 15 minutes, if somebody will prompt me, we'll open it up to questions. Let me tell you a story that's called 10-4. 10-4. Now that's an unusual name. But if you are into shortwave radios and things of that nature, if you're a ham operator or if you fly airplanes and you talk with a radio, you understand that when you give a transmission or get one back, sometimes one of the responses is 10-4. Used to hear that a lot from truck drivers. Many, many years ago, more than I would like to remember, I had surgery and I had a near-death experience. I was dead for 7 minutes. I lay in a coma for 7 days. Gosh, these sevens keep coming up. I even had 7 major surgeries in 7 years. Wow, what's that all about? I lay in a coma for 7 days. I had had a vision prior to the surgery. I knew there was going to be difficulty, but I did not know to what extent the difficulty would be. And I told my husband that if anything should happen and if I was unable to communicate, I was more concerned about my daughter than anyone. She was at that age that it would have been very difficult for her to handle that kind of crisis. I said, if anything happens to me, put Nikki's hand in mine and tell her that I will find a way to let her know that I'm okay. So I had told him that, and I forgot about it. And as I lay in the coma, and let me tell you about being in a coma when you're in the hospital. Did you know you can hear everything that goes on? You ever go to the hospital and you visit a sick person and you think that they don't know what's going on? Please, please, do not be condescending to people that are in that state. They hear you. They know what's happening. They know what's going on. Talk to them as if they are an adult. Do not start talking to them as if they are a child. Just talk to them in a normal way. But anyway, I was laying there and I could hear all of the equipment, the alarms going off. I knew when they were putting shots into my body. I knew when they were checking the equipment. I knew when all these things were going on. I was completely, totally, absolutely oblivious to pain. There was no pain. There was nothing. Only an awareness, a complete awareness of what was going on. And I'll never forget the day that I heard the footsteps coming down the hallway, and I knew it was my husband. I knew it was my small daughter. He brought her into the room, and he sat there and told her precisely what I had said. And he took her little hand, put it in mine, and the hardest thing that I ever had to do in my entire life was to take that thumb and squeeze it just a little bit to let her know that I was okay, that I wasn't really gone, even though I'd been gone for 7 days. And when I moved the thumb and made contact with her hand, she started crying, and I did too. Even though I couldn't move a muscle, I couldn't open my eyes, I couldn't do anything, the tears started streaming from my face, from my eyes, and I began my journey back. But now let me tell you part of what happened while I was gone. And I'm not going to tell too long a version of it. I'm going to be brief. You'll pardon me if I get emotional when I'm telling this, because I still have trouble talking about it. I had an aunt that had been dead, remember the word, that had been on the other side for about 7 or 8 years at that time. I loved her. She was the most wonderful, the most incredible person, the most spunky, feisty person I'd ever known in my entire life. She could get my attention quicker than anybody. Well, all of a sudden, while I was in that death process, my aunt came to me. And she was wearing this bright red dress, even brighter than this gentleman's shirt over here. I like that red shirt. It was a bright red dress. And she was completely in my face. And she talked to me continuously. I didn't realize what was happening at the time, but I discovered and figured out later on that the reason she came to me is that she was someone that was special, that could keep my attention, could hold my attention, and could keep me occupied while I was going through the transition. Now, we've heard some stories, and we know that there are tunnels, there are lights, there are sounds, there are all those things. And these things I'm very much aware of and can talk at great length with you about that if that happens to be your question. But this particular event happened a little differently. So Aunt Vera was her name. I'm talking to Aunt Vera. I'm having this wonderful conversation. And then all of a sudden, everything faded black. It was gone. I woke up. I came to a full waking state in a completely different place. It was as real as what I see here, as solid as this, but more beautiful than anything you can imagine. I was on my knees, and I was on a part of a dirty, dusty, rocky walking path by some of the most beautiful green grass that I'd ever seen. But I was on my knees. And as I was on my knees and I was looking down, there were feet in front of me that had sandals on the feet. And as I came to my senses, I thought, I wonder whose feet these are. The moment, the very instant that I wondered whose feet these were, I knew whose feet they were. Now, it could have been Buddha, it could have been Allah, it could have been any of those things, because all of those things are equal and important. In my case, it was Christ. It was the feet of Christ. I was at the feet of Christ. So, he was standing in front of me, and he leaned down and caused me to stand up. As I stood up, I hung my head. I didn't want to look at him. Not that I didn't want to. I didn't think I was worthy. He took his hand and lifted my chin. He wanted me to look up, and I kept turning away. And I said, but I am so unworthy. And he said, you are most worthy. And that is the truth for all of us, is we are worthy. I did look up. I did look into his face. And I will never, as long as I live, ever forget the face. I will never forget the eyes. And I heard someone say the other day, can't remember who it was now, might have been Dolores, I can't remember, who was talking about Christ and describing what he looked like. It was without a doubt the bluest eyes I had ever seen. And the eyes were so full of love, compassion, knowing, understanding, peace. Words you couldn't even begin to speak to explain what was in the eyes. Eyes that loved me, that forgave me, that cared for me, that whatever. And being from southeast Georgia, being raised in the Bible Belt, and still having a little bit of the fundamentalist in me still hanging around somewhere back there, I thought, can this be true now? I got to know that this is real. I got to know. So as I'm thinking this, and again, let me tell you that this could have been any persona. In my case, again, it was Christ. This was just what was going on for me. But it can happen a lot of different ways. As I was raised in the church, I learned that Christ was nailed to the cross. That was part of my belief system. This is part of my validation process in this particular event. So I wanted to see the nail-scarred hands. That was just where I was at, and that was how I thought, well, I'll validate it that way. If I could only see his hands, I would know that it's him. I didn't say a word, I thought it. And you see, when you're in spirit, thought is everything. Thought is absolutely everything. He extended his hand out to me. He was ahead of me, way ahead of me. And I put my hand in his, and for the briefest moment, I felt every pain, every sorrow, every joy, every grief, everything, just that quick, and it was gone. But I knew that it was okay. And again, that was my validation. That was just what I needed at the time. It's not necessary, doesn't happen that way every time, but that's what happened for me. And so I began a journey for those 7 minutes. It could have equaled 7 years. Because you see, on the other side, time does not exist. There is no such thing as time. Time always has been, always will be. Time is our measurement. It's what we do. It's how we keep up with things. It's how we know we're going to have a computer glitch before too long. We did it to ourselves. So during that time frame, I walked and talked and I saw things, and I have to tell you that I saw the bluest skies you've ever seen. I saw the greenest grass. Saw the most beautiful water, saw the most beautiful buildings, saw crystal buildings. You've heard that word already, haven't you? All of those wonderful things I saw, and I was told, and I knew all these things existed. This was not new to me. It was like being at home. And I was told, you got to go back. You know, this is just kind of a refresher. You got to pump yourself up. You got to go back. You got a lot of things you got to do. And I knew that. I knew that was what it was all about. So I went back, and there's really a lot more to that. But the main thing that I wanted to tell you about is that it's a beautiful place over there. It can be a lot of things. And depending on your own personal needs, it will be that. Whatever your needs and requirements are when you make your transition, that is what will be provided to you. But the eyes, that's what I want you to remember. I want you to remember the blue eyes. And then now we get to the story about 10-4. Some years back, I had an occasion to receive a phone call from a friend who said, there's a young lady who is so messed up I don't know what to do with her. We've taken her to everybody. She needs help. She's in trouble. She's been abused. Her family's tried to kill her. Everything you can think of has happened to her. We don't know where else to take her. Can you help her? Ooh, that's a lot. And so I listened to part of the story, and I said, sure, I'll talk to this young lady, and I'll see what I can do to help her. The young lady had a very, very sad life in a lot of different ways. She had managed to escape her home life and had picked up the telephone one day and had a gun in her hand and was dialing the phone and said, if there's a real God, he'll get me a job or get me a way of getting out of this. He'll help me. Well, there was that day an answer to the soul's earnest cry. She happened to call that lady, and it was a little poodle grooming shop. And she said, I need a job. And the lady, being the sweet, wonderful person that she is on the other end of the phone, heard something in the voice. She says, well, Sugar, see, down south, if we can't remember your name, we call you Sugar. And everybody she knows is Sugar. because she cannot remember your name. Most adorable lady you've ever met in your life. I tell her she's got a revolving front door because everybody in town that's in trouble finds their way to her house. So she says, well, Sugar, can you groom dogs? Well, the young lady lied. She lied bad. She did not know anything about grooming dogs, but she said, yes, she sure could do that. Yes, ma'am, she sure could do that. Well, Sugar, come on down. And she did. And that was how she got introduced into the little family. I got to know Susan. Peggy had called me and said, I need you to talk to her, and I did. And every once in a while, I would go by the little poodle grooming shop, and I would check on her. And little poodle grooming shop, the room that Susan slept in, had no windows, was so dirty. It was just an incredible place to be. I don't think anyone, not even a homeless person, would want to live there. But Susan thought it was a castle. She thought it was a mansion. It was her little haven. It was on a 6-lane highway. And there used to be a black man that would walk up and down the 6-lane highway, had a funky little hat, had antennas all over it, walked around with a walkie-talkie that did not work, had no interior parts, no batteries, no nothing. But he walked up and down the 6-lane highway, talking up to the sky, saying 10-4, 10-4. Thus the name 10-4. Well, nobody ever really knew who he was talking to or what he was saying. But the thing about 10-4 was that he was the most incredible opportunity for a person to know something about themselves. Now, if you know anything at all about the Bible, and if you don't, I'll tell you this. It says in there, be careful. You know not when you entertain angels unaware. And you know what, my friends? There have been angels moving among you while you have been at this conference, while you have been outside eating, while you've been moving, while you've been in and out of the elevators. There have been angels moving among you. Some of them have been in physical bodies at times. Anyway, 10-4 would walk up and down the 6-lane highway talking to somebody up in the sky yelling 10-4, 10-4. And he would wave at people, waving, all the time, waving. Had 3 or 4 really scroungy looking puppy dogs following along behind him. Kind of a sad sight. But he gave everyone an opportunity to know something about themselves, because if you were driving down the highway and you saw 10-4, would you have waved back? Now, I know you would have. But there's some in here that might not have waved back at 10-4. They might have said, ooh. So in that brief moment that 10-4 is out there waving and whatever, somebody had an opportunity to know what kind of person they were. Either they were a person of compassion, or they were very judgmental, or whatever. Well, one day I had my chance. I had my encounter with 10-4. I had stopped by the little poodle grooming shop to check on Susan. Went inside and was making my pleasant conversation and checking on things to see how things were. All of a sudden, the front door of that little place burst wide open, and in comes 10-4. Now, before I could move, before I could back up, before I could blink an eye, guess what he did? He came straight over to me and put a bear hug on me like you have never had in your life. And I don't think he knew that last Saturday he should have had a bath. And maybe the Saturday before. Because I got to tell you, that was one of the, can I be blunt, the rankest, the most offensive will be a lady. It was the most horrible smell I'd ever smelled in my entire life. So here's this wonderful little person, 10-4, got a bear hug on me, and I'm about to smother to death. Well, in that brief moment, I had a chance to learn something about myself. Now, I could have been very offended, and it would have been real easy, and I could have pushed him away, but I didn't. I put my arms around him, and I hugged him back. And through these hands that have the most incredible energy that you can imagine, I gave him the deepest, most profound love that I could muster up. I just gave him everything I had. And when I did, he stepped back, looked at me. I saw the same blue eyes. He winked, turned around and walked out. Be careful. You know not when you entertain angels unaware. What a gift that was that day. But again, what an opportunity to know something about myself. And you know, as you've been here at the Congress, you've had an opportunity to bump into each other. You've had an opportunity to speak and greet each other. And I just wonder if we have all done the very best that we can. And I'm going to cry. Sorry. I think I've got a tissue up here somewhere. I don't have a tissue up here. You have a tissue. Thank you.
I come prepared.
Thank you. I know that we've all had opportunities the last few days to know something about who we are. I wonder if you think you've done the very best. I wonder if you have opened your heart and opened your soul to the people that are around you. I wonder if you have extended your love in the best possible way that you can. Now, I know a lot of you have, because I've seen that. I've observed it, and I've actually been on the receiving end of it. But if you haven't, let's make an extra special effort. Before you get out of here tonight, just do the best you can to give a hug, give a bear hug. And I love bear hugs. I tell you, I like bear hugs. Give something to somebody before you leave. Now, again, let's get back to the open channel. Let's get back to the angels that are here. And let me talk very briefly about people that are around you guys. And you know, you all came in with a lot of baggage. Some of it was under the chair. But you all came in with spirits around you, with guides. I saw little children. I saw some Indians, American Indians. I've seen some Orientals and Chinese, and I saw an awful lot of interesting things around all you people as you came in. But let me tell you what has happened to them while you've been here. When the channel started opening up and when the angels came into place, those that are in spirit around you moved to the side. Not because they were uncomfortable or afraid, or not because they were unwelcomed, but because they respect and honor your desire to get the highest truth and to get the best possible energy in this room. And while you are here learning, and there is more going on than you are aware, there is a tremendous energy exchange going on right now. While the physical aspect of us is being worked on or nurtured or cared for or informed, so is the spirit. So are the ones that are around you. They learn and they grow too. So they have backed away to allow this channel to be the widest open channel that it can possibly be. How are we doing on our time? Because I want to be sure we've got enough time for 26 minutes. Okay. One of the things that I'd like for you to do, we are in very perilous times right now. There are a lot of changes that are going on. We can think of it as earth changes. We can think of it as a lot of things. And I can address earth changes as well as anything else. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that right now, but certainly can address those things. Will you just take a moment and close your eyes again, and while we have an open channel, will you send love and good wishes or peace and harmony, however you want to define it, whatever you want to do, will you send the most that you have in your heart and soul? Will you send it to someone? Send it to someone. And it will be embellished and multiplied more than you can imagine. Send it to a mother, a father. Send it to a companion. Send it to our president. Send it to the leaders of our countries. Send it to our enemies. Take just a moment while you have an open channel and send something wonderful and incredible to someone. Thank you very much for that. Now, let me tell you about something that's been going on for the last 3 weeks, something that culminates. That's what happens when you're in the South, can't talk. Something that finishes up tonight. There has been an energy shift going on for 3 weeks. Now, this is not a shift of the earth. This is an energy shift. There has been a change going on for 3 weeks that will culminate tonight. There has been special angels that have been behind this effort, and it takes place periodically. It's an extraordinary amount of energy, a different vibration, something above and beyond anything that you know and understand at this time. Now, some of you may be aware of it before you leave the room because you're sort of climatized to it right now, but by the time we start shutting this down and open the door and start going out, you'll become aware of the difference from here to out there. The vibratory rates are being changed. It's a new energy. Those that are very, very intuitive will be aware of it. Those that are not terribly intuitive, perhaps not even interested in it, may be aware of it but may not understand what's taking place. This new energy, this new vibratory rate can affect you by making you nauseous, making you lightheaded. It can settle in your joints. You can have a little bit more difficulty moving and walking. It won't last long, but it is helping you to prepare to move to the next level. Now, as you start asking your questions, and in our workshop, as I said, there is absolutely, positively no subject that you cannot talk about or ask questions about, and we won't answer. We won't get the answer. We'll get it. I don't care what it is. What I would encourage you to do is when you're asking questions is to stay away from the personal issues. Let's take this to another level. Let's move on up. Don't ask me if you're going to get the winning lotto numbers. If I know you are, watch me, I'm going to follow you home or go where you buy the ticket. I don't do lotto numbers for people. Try to raise your consciousness. Try to move to the next level. Ask the tough questions. Ask the questions that you have not been able to get the answers for before. Go for the gusto. Let's get the big stuff out here. Let's talk about the important issues. Stay away from the personal issues. If you want personal things, go sit down and have lunch with me at the table. We'll talk more personal things or make private appointments or whatever. But for the benefit of the group, let's talk about the things that are important. You people, you dear, dear, sweet people, are so special and so very unique. You are so powerful in all that you are able to do. You must lift your thought process to to things that are much, much higher. You must pull yourself up out of these everyday, ordinary activities. It's time to move on. It's time to wonder about the world. It's time to wonder about a blue wall of energy out in the dark part of the sky that has been discovered and nobody really knows what it is. Something that I saw, I don't even remember how many years ago. It's time to ask about the mysteries that are about to be unfolded and opened, and what those things will do to change us. It's time to talk about the changes and how we prepare, and do we buy food? Do we take our money out of the bank? We've heard some of those things. Those have been addressed, and we may not need to talk about that. But let's talk about the big picture. Let's talk about the big issues. One other thing about the workshop, we are going to, and I don't know, it's been an awful long time since I've been told that this will take place, but if you are going to attend the workshop, I'd like for you to dress very comfortably, because about the last half hour of our time, we're going to have a healing and a cleansing time. We're going to get rid of and get it on. And I was also told, and thank you very much, I was told we'll have a potty break. So that's probably more for me than it is for you, but we will have a break, because we can't get to the final phase of the things that we need to talk about if we don't relieve the kidneys just a little bit. So just know that we will take just about 5 minutes, and I was told 5 minutes might not be enough, but we're going to have to hurry. So we will have a little break. How are we doing on time? 18? 19? Well, that's good enough. If any of you have questions, why don't you go ahead and start moving over to the microphone and be as brief and specific as you can, and we'll start taking some questions from the floor. And remember, if you will please tell me your name so I will know who you are and so I can get into your energy, because something rather incredible happens. It's not because I'm special, because I'm not. It has nothing to do with that. It just has to do with the extraordinary things that are taking place, but even the words have energy. And there is a tremendous amount of energy that's going out. There's a lot of things that is being changed and altered and helped and nurtured and molded within each of you. So when you come up and ask a question, if you'll tell me your name, I'm going to lock into your energy, and then I'm going to be doing a little bit of work on you too while you're standing there. It won't hurt.
Thank you.
So what's your name?
Kia?
Tia.
No, it's like a key.
Key.
Kia Oro.
Kia. Okay.
I wanted to know, could you tell us how death felt for you?
Death does not hurt. It absolutely does not hurt. Now, I would not lie to you and say that there is no pain associated with death, because we all know that the body has got to break down. There has to be a complete breakdown of the body before the soul can be released, before the final fiber of the silver cord can be undone. There has to be a breaking down process, and so there is some pain associated sometimes. But what I can tell you is, the closer you get to death, there is a death anesthesia that takes over, and the soul starts slipping in and out, and the soul becomes less and less aware of what's happening to the body. In fact, the soul really doesn't care anymore. And even though you may have already reached that stage as a soul in your death process, your family may be standing around watching your body moaning and groaning and contorting in pain, and they may be administering morphine or whatever. But it's the physical aspect, and good comes from everything. There is a great purpose in all things that happen, even the death process, even the breaking down of the body, the breaking down of all of those physical aspects. Death is not so much, that breaking down process is not so much for the soul at that stage of the game as it is for the family or the people that are around. Remember the story about 10-4 and how he allowed us to know something about ourselves? Well, as family members, we also learn something about ourselves when a person is dying. We deal with our own fear of death. We become loving, nurturing, caring people, or we don't. But we do learn something about ourselves. So the actual act of dying does not hurt, period. It's as easy as that and as quick as that. It's as simple as falling asleep, taking a breath. That's really all there is to it. And then it is the most incredible transition and transformation that you can imagine. And obviously, we don't have enough time to deal with that. Again, we can deal with that more in the workshop if we need to. But does that adequately answer your question?
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hi,
Hi,
my name is Anthony La Serena.
Anthony. Thank you for coming.
First off, I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And
No, thank you. I hear somebody in spirit's giving me a hard time right now. I'm sorry. There are some real comics. Please.
well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
we're glad you're here anyway. In big picture, Christ consciousness, 1,000 years of peace. Will it happen? When?
Yes. It will happen. Did you say when? Who said when?
I said when.
Okay. 1,000 years of peace, yes. Many of the things that we have heard about and learned about, they will come about, sometimes not exactly the way we've learned them, because sometimes these things sort of get turned around and they get embellished a little bit, and man's interpretation sort of changes it a little bit. But yes, there will be peace. When will it come? I'm not going to give you a very specific answer on that. Because I find that it begins to set some fear up for some people. What I will say to you is that these changes that lead into that particular phase will come when I am no longer on the face of the earth. So now don't everybody start calling my house to see if I've died yet. It will come. And what a wonderful time. What a wonderful thing it will be. And if you would like to get into that more in detail in the workshop, I'll be happy to. Be happy to go a little bit deeper into that. Yes.
My name is Cody, and I want you to know that there are many of us here that love you very, very much.
Oh.
Very much. My question deals with the new children that are coming in the world today. Some of them are of the indigo ray vibration. Can you give us any information about their missions here on the earth?
Thank you, Cody. It's true there are a lot of special children coming in right now. Now, I'm a grandmother. I just became a grandmother 7 months ago. I don't want Dean to start in on me again about this. He's going to whip out that picture of the grandchild. We're going to have dueling photographs for it so with. And I know this sounds like a grandmother's rantings. It's really not. I've got the most adorable little grandchild you've ever seen. Now, that was not funny. Having said that, and having been the grandmother and gotten that out of the way, let me say that the little soul that is in the grandchild that I have, and there was another child that was brought in the building today, there are a number of these children that are actually being brought into my presence for reasons that I can't get into right now, but there is a tremendous influx of little souls that are here for very profound, very specific reasons. There is a spiritual revolution underway. You're part of it. You are part of it. Remember the word teachers. You are part of it. You come across these little children, you pick them up and you hug them and you mentally communicate with them and you tell them, I understand and I know and I'm here for you. They do have a very specific purpose. It is going on all over the earth. All over the earth. They are not young souls. They are old souls, wise beyond some of our understanding. Unfortunately, it will be their task, and the generation of my grandchild and some of the grandchildren of you, it will be their task to start tidying up and cleaning up and dealing with some of the major issues. But yes, there is a great influx of these wonderful special children. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to talk about my grandson. I just needed half an excuse for that.
My name is Ken.
Ken.
Yes.
I knew somebody named Ken one time. And look, if y'all believed everything he said earlier, who was it wanting to buy land?
I would invite you to talk about the concepts of energy, either present or new forms, rivers or waterways of the earth, and healing.
Talk about energy, rivers and waterways, and healing.
The healing of the waterways and the energies needed to do it.
Okay. Obviously, water is one of probably the most important elements of our personal beings. And it is something that we've got to take care of. There are a lot of problems with it. Let me change my train of thought just a little bit and let me answer it in a different way and see if I can get to what it is you're looking for. Because I walk in both worlds, because I work with physical, I also have to work with spirit. And I am part of and have had the task of working with groups of people in spirit that are very, very concerned about the condition of the earth, the condition of the water, the condition of many, many things. And there is a tremendous amount of energy that is being put into affecting the minds of people, educating people about cleaning up the earth. You know, we are really and truly damaging the earth in unspeakable ways. The water is only a small part of it. There are a lot of other things that are going on. But there is a tremendous effort in spirit to affect the minds of many. Now, how could you affect minds? You can have people swim with dolphins and raise our consciousness through things of that nature and make us more aware of that aspect of vibratory communication and the need for water, pure water, clean water. There's any number of ways that these things are going to be taken care of. Energy is probably the most important thing that I can talk about at any point. Energy is everything. It is vibration, it is communication, it is transportation, it is manifestation, it is creation, it is all of those things. And we must learn how to master energy. I do a lot of energy work. It's not a big thing to do. Any of you can do it. But it is something very, very important. It's something that you've got to get in tune with. And I would encourage you in your prayerful or in your meditative times, try to think in terms of aligning your body, your mind, and your soul, and try to raise your vibrations to a higher level. I'm not sure I answered all of that. Did I get to everything for you?
It's a probing, and it's a little hard to know exactly, but I just am aware of the fact that we need some breakthroughs, and there are, I've always said that there's going to come a time when there will be key people who will be able to heal the air.
You're
or
right.
the earth or the
And-
water.
And
they're-
let me
they're
just
key
share
things.
with you, there are people in physical on the face of the earth right now that have that ability. Right now. And that's part of this spiritual revolution that's going on. Okay.
Hello, my name's Vi Wickham,
How are
And-
you?
and I want to thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And would you tell me how many silver mercury fillings you have in your teeth?
How many silver fillings do I have in my teeth?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I was a horse and I opened my mouth right now, you'd know exactly how old I was, right? I'm kidding. I have none.
You have none.
I have none.
Did you used to have any?
Yes.
How many did you used to have?
Maybe 7 or 8.
7 or 8? Well, thank you.
You're welcome. If I could whinny, I would. Silver fillings. Right. How many do you have?
I've had them all taken out. I have 16.
There you go. All right. Next question.
Hi, my name is Bill Mee.
Hi.
Judy, I was wondering when you were caught up into paradise, and did you hear music when you were up there? And
Yes.
I was wondering, you must have had many questions, and could you maybe mention some of the questions you asked the Lord and what kind of answers He gave you?
Thank you for the question. That's a good opportunity to bring in a couple of other things. I know this sounds strange. I really didn't have that many questions. It has a lot to do with my own personal evolvement, my own personal understanding. I didn't have a lot of questions. Now, I am a very demanding person about knowledge and answers, and even today, as I'm working in spirit, if there's something that I see that I don't know what it is or I don't understand, I want to know. And I go straight to the top for the answer. I don't mess around with a middle guy. So I do always ask a lot of questions. At that particular time, I did not ask a lot of questions, and I'll try to explain just momentarily why I did not. Music is very, very important to me. I love the tones and the sounds of some of the wind chimes. They're extraordinary. And you know, if you travel out into the dark part of the sky, you get out there in the universe, the planets hum. There's a heartbeat. There's a rhythm. There's a sound. There's a song. There's a vibration. And it is so wonderful, so nurturing. It's so healing. But music is very important. And yes, I did hear music. There were extraordinary kaleidoscope colors. And at one point when I had occasion, this was not during my own death process in this life, but one of these investigative time frames where I said, okay, I want to know what everybody's going through. I want to go through the tunnel, but I want to be aware and I need to know what it's all about. So all of a sudden, here's this little shaft. I got thrown in the shaft. I got an elevator ride. Now, part of what was happening is I saw the colors. I felt at the higher up or the farther away we got in that, I started feeling the deeper love, the stronger feelings, the stronger emotions. But also something that I thought was very, very strange is that this shaft was protected, and it was like my elevator ride, if you will. But there were souls that were outside peeking in. They wanted to know who was in there. And occasionally there would be an angel. But there were souls that were standing there watching to see what was going on. So does that adequately? Oh, let me tell you why I didn't ask questions, and I think that'll finish that up. There is a place out in the dark part of the sky. And when I say dark part of the sky, I don't know how else to say it except to say it's way out there. And I don't even know how many of these still exist. I was told at one time that there were 12. There is something called a genre. I don't know if anyone's ever heard that. It's like a schoolhouse. And before I came into this life, I was taken to a genre. And I was placed inside, and I stayed in there by myself in my purest form, which you look like a little sun. You know, you don't really have a form or a shape. You are just pure energy. And I was taken and I was placed inside, and I stayed inside for what would equate to, in earth time, as 14 years. And I had a complete panoramic study of the earth. I saw the earth as it was created. I saw everything that happened. I saw the end of the earth. I saw other universes. I saw other life forms. I saw all of those things, but I've seen it before. But it was like a cram course that I had to take before I came, because I was supposed to walk in both worlds, and I was supposed to know a little bit. Now, I don't know a lot. And when I don't know the answers, I know where to go to get them. But that's why I did not ask the questions, is because I had just gotten out of 14 years of school. Thank you.
My name is Tom Sleep, and I've had all my fillings removed.
All right, Tom.
But
Now listen, we're not laughing at this gentleman,
No.
right? We're not laughing at him, we're laughing with him, right?
right. I'm glad I got them out.
There you go.
Anyway, the question I had is, I wonder if you had any insights as to safe zones, perhaps in this country in future days.
Good question. I'm probably not going to answer it in the way that you'd like for me to answer it. I'm not going to address Gordon Michael Scallion's map. I'm not going to discuss whether or not a particular city is safe. I do know there is such a thing as safe zones. I know that the house I have in Columbus, Georgia right now is going to be beachfront property one day. What I will tell you and what I would encourage you to consider is this. If you have this deep need, deep desire to move, move. Follow your own intuitions, your own instinct, your own guidance. Move if it's important to you. But don't worry about it. You know, if you're supposed to be in a safe zone, guess what? It might be the day you go see Grandma and Grandma's in a safe zone, and you'll be okay. Those of you that are supposed to be in a safe zone, those of you that are supposed to be okay, those of you that will stay behind and help later, you will be in the right place at the right time. And I think I heard someone very eloquently say a little bit earlier, if you're down under the ground and it's your time and it's still safe and the screwdriver's going to fall and tumble and get you, it will. So rather than discuss what are the safe zones, and there are some, I would just encourage you to follow your own heart, follow your own guidance, and just know that what happens is appropriate. And so what if you get taken out? What's the worst thing that could happen? That you move on from the burdens of this life and the aches and the pains and paying the bills and the whatevers, and that you move into the most magnificent thing that you can possibly imagine? That's how I would like to respond to you. Thank you for asking.
Hi, my name's Kevin Kiefer, and I need some feelings.
He needs feelings. Okay.
But my question has to do with the book of Revelation. I wonder if you know how many seals have been broken, and do you think Christ is coming around the year 2000?
I do not think all, and I understand what you're referring to, and some of us will identify with that and some of us will not. But to answer you very specifically, I do not think all of the seals have been broken. And no, I do not think it will be the year 2000.
Around that time, though?
What's around? I'll still be here in 2000. Remember what I said earlier? I won't be here. My work here will be done, and I'll be working on the other side at that time. So we're going to pass that. We're going to pass the year 2000.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking.
My name is Mel Eberhardt. Could you talk about essences, singular or plural, of our life essence at a subatomic level is contrasted to external fields?
I'm not sure I'm understanding the question.
Talk about the essences of life which are available in us at a subatomic level as contrasted to, say, the aura or external fields.
The essence of life.
At subatomic level.
Subatomic. What does subatomic level mean to you?
Less than molecular, less than what we normally regard as light.
Okay. The essence of life, the energy force, the energy field, the life force, is that what you're looking for? Some explanation? Okay. Our energy, our essence, let's call it our soul, our life force, our energy, always has been, always will be, changes from time to time depending on our own growth, our own evolvement, whatever. In this physical life, many of us are not fully aware of our life force, of the essence of who we are. We are connected to our higher self. I think most of you understand that. And that higher self many times will remind us that we are part of the greatest thing that there is, that we are all part of this massive creation, this massive universe, this massive love, that we are part of it all. But when we are here in our physical, we are not always aware of the truest essence of who we are. And it's sad that we're not, because we should change our thought process so that we will elevate our thought process and get back in touch with that higher part, the higher essence of our life. Does that address that sufficiently for you?
Sufficient.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Joanne Massey.
Hi, Joanne.
And about 3 years ago, when I would look up at the clouds, I would see rainbow colors. And I don't mean from rain like we see rainbows. I would see these colored lights here, or I might see them there, and colors of the rainbow, colors of the chakra, whatever. And I've been curious to know what that was. Was it new energies coming into the earth, and maybe the earth going into higher dimensions, or something else?
I'm not sure I can address completely what it was you saw, but let me address it in this way and see if I can give you some answers. There's really no such thing as new energy, but there is such a thing as our energy being cleaned, revamped, recharged, pushed into high gear. There's been a lot of that going on. I would not be surprised if you saw it in the form of colors, as in a rainbow effect or a prism effect. I would not be surprised if you saw it as sparkles in the air. I would not be surprised if you felt it as a vibration or something that brushes against you, that you almost meet up against it like a wall of energy. There has been a tremendous amount of revitalization, revamping, recharging, cleansing, cleaning of the energy. So I'm not sure if that's what you saw, but it sounds like it could have been, because I know that it's going on, and I know that it does come about in those ways.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ann, and my silver feelings bless you.
Thank you.
I live in Malibu Canyon. Can you hear me? I live in Malibu Canyon, and
Can we all go home with you?
Sure. And if you could be so kind to tell us when the earth changes in California or the West Coast could possibly be starting.
They've already started.
Okay.
You want to come to my house?
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering, because I'm seriously considering moving as well.
Follow your heart, follow your intuitions, follow your instincts about that. If you have a burden on your heart to move, just do it. Okay. And you know what, if it's the right thing, and I know sometimes we say, it's not really financially feasible or possible to get up and move and whatever. If you can't really do it and you got a burden, somehow it's going to work out anyway. You're going to be either on a trip or visiting or away for a holiday or whatever. You're going to be in the place that you need to be. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And by the way, I certainly applaud you and your courage. I applaud you.
Thank you very much.
You know, what she did was not easy. It's not easy to be up here. Anybody want to come up here?
Hi, my name is Doe, and I'll plead the Fifth Amendment on my silver fillings right at the moment. But anyway.
I bet he won't ask that question again anytime soon. What do you think? I don't know, he may fool us all. He may get up and ask it again in a minute.
Yeah.
We apologize. We're really not laughing at you, really. You're enjoying it? Okay, good.
When you were on stage a little while ago and you were saying people can come up and if they want to ask about this or that, or my mind was saying crop circles, and you said in the crop circles. So I'm asking about the crop circles.
Okay, I'll address that very briefly, and we will talk more about that in the workshop. Crop circles is an interesting phenomena, isn't it? I had the opportunity about a year ago to be in England and walk in one of the crop circles. It was a phenomenal experience, an extraordinary energy. I've done a lot of investigating on that, and this is one of those things the gentleman asked earlier if I asked questions when I went back over. I don't always ask those questions then, but I certainly do ask them later, and since crop circles has been such a big hot topic and an important thing, that was one of those things that I went and did a little investigation on. And I actually watched in spirit, from a spirit perspective, one of the crop circles form. And this is a interdimensional thing. And it's like a time warp or energy warp that opens up. It comes in, makes the impact, leaves. That's why it can happen in just a few seconds, is because it's an interdimensional kind of thing. But I have walked in them. I've looked at the photographs. I wish that I could tell you what all of those symbols mean. I don't honestly know what they all mean. My take on that is that it's part of an alphabet, if you will, that the earlier ones were part of an alphabet, and that it's a way of trying to educate us and teach us. And if we can ever get a grasp on some of the basics of it, I think we'll start putting it together and start understanding it. But I do really believe that it's messages to us that convey a number of things. I think it conveys things that we can do to change our world. I think it's things that we can do to prepare for the changes that are taking place. I think part of it is greetings. Part of it is warnings. So it's a multitude of messages that are going on in the crop circles.
Can you say what intelligence is sending this message or these messages?
The observations that I made when this was going on, I guess the only way to tell you, I think we would say E.T., other life, other than us, other than physical. Now, we all know, what was it, Fred and Ted or whatever?
Doug and Dave.
Oh, Doug and Dave. Well, I knew it was something like that. We know that they had a small part in that. But it's not all that. There is much more to it.
Dave died a couple of years ago, so he's been making them from the other side.
Oh, my gosh, it might be he that's coming through the dimensions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam.
Hi, Sam.
Hi. I'd like you to explain the relationship between us here in the third dimension and the ascended masters that presumably you're in contact with that may be in the seventh dimension, and the physical ETs, like from Orion and Pleiades and Zeta Reticuli and all that. How do they all relate together, or can you kind of integrate that relationship?
Well, we are all part of a creation of a power bigger than us, a supreme being or whatever you want to call it. We are all creations of that. Some of us have been around for a very long time, and some of us have gotten really smart, and we've made it up to some of those levels. And if you want to talk about that in the workshop, we can talk about such a thing as levels on the other side. But we are all part of the same thing. We're just in different places for different reasons, and it's possible that some of you have actually lived a life as an ET. You might have had a learning and growing process in that form. So we're really all connected. We're just at different levels, different places, because we've either evolved, we need to be there, but we're all working together. And one of the things that I can tell you about ET or any intelligence that's higher than us, we're all on the same program. We're all trying to get back to that from whence we come. And if there is ET involvement and ET activity, they are interacting with us because we're part of that program too. And I do know that none of them are going to get to their eventuality without us being there. And we're all going to have to work together. And when we don't, we create our problems. But I do know that they are moving towards their destiny, but we're part of that process. And they can't get there without us being part of it and without working with us, helping us, educating us, interacting with us, whatever. But I know that they're moving to their eventuality, and they can't get there without us. We're all headed there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah Catherine,
Hi, Sarah.
and we appreciate your
Thank you.
speaking here this evening. I was wondering if you could offer us any hope for the future, for the New World Order, or for the pollution that we suffer. It's hard to focus and be a spiritual being when the water you drink has 10 times the allowable amount of mercury. It's not just in your fillings. And they're spraying your air you breathe with flight fuel that is so toxic that it was banned in 1986. And you live in the most polluted county in the whole United States. Can you help empower us or give us some hope for the future?
Well, I can tell you that what's coming, what will be, is better than anything your minds can imagine. It's better than anything you can dream of, anything that you can possibly conceive. So we know that we're going to return to that from whence we come, and we know that it's an incredible place. And it is a really sad thing that the earth is in the state that it is, and it's our fault. We did it. We can individually try to undo it. We can empower ourselves and other people with knowledge. We can try to undo it, but I got to tell you, I don't think we're going to make it. I think we're going to turn the tide on some of it, but I don't think that we're going to completely make it, and that saddens my heart and soul deeply. I wish I could tell you that I thought it was going to be different, but I really don't think it is. I think we're too far gone. But I would say let's not give up. Let's keep pushing. Let's keep meditating and praying and asking that those things be reversed. But it all has to begin within us. No change can take place if we don't change it here first. It has to begin within us, and then we try to spread it around. But the earth is in bad shape. We are punishing and killing the earth in a lot of ways. We must pray. We must meditate. We must encourage change. Sadly, I don't think that it's going to happen completely. I think that we will do a lot, but what I saw of the end, the things that I saw, tells me that there's a lot of it that has not been reversed. But don't give up. Please don't give up.
Hi. My name is Sylvia.
Hi, Sylvia.
How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm not sure I understand always the linear time and outside of this dimension, the time-space business. I'm still trying to understand that. But when we talk about past lives and reincarnation and simultaneous lives and et cetera, could you elaborate a little bit maybe on that or help me to better understand how that might work?
On the other side, there is no such thing as time. We can, in fact, coexist in dual time frames, dual universes, if you will, time warps, whatever you want to call it. I hear it referred to in a lot of different ways, but we can, our lives, some of our past lives, if you want to embrace that thought concept and you want to embrace the thought concept of reincarnation, and I certainly do, these things, the reason we can reach into that time frame and pull out information is because in that time frame, time is still going on, and it doesn't go away because there is no such thing as the beginning and ending of time. So because it is ongoing and we can stop and reach into it, we can sometimes retrieve valuable information about ourself, history, sometimes we can, in fact, reach back in and find out things about the earth, find out about who we are. We can find out things that will help us to understand ourselves better and make changes. But that time exists even as we are existing right now.
Hi, my name is Dan Pilla.
Hi.
I appreciate your presentation, your comments.
Thank you.
But the thing that bothers me is when you say you don't see any hope. I see a light there coming that the women in this country is going to help turn it around with the enlightenment of teaching the people who are involved in changing the money system, the people who are controlling it, making all these evil things. Now, if we all come together and start teaching people the evils of this dastardly money system, who the people are trying to promote this evil system, we will turn it around. But it's going to take some work, and not Mickey Mouse. And that's what I'm trying to say, because we have the tools over here to do it. But most people think they know all about it because they know about the Federal Reserve. They don't know their ears from their elbow. And that's what I'm trying to imply, that we start doing it right, we will turn it around. But you women, around your little finger, can control any man bigger than a locomotive. And this is what we have to do, because a man becomes a robot to the right woman. Thank you.
I could not have said it better.
Too many fillings.
We have a ventriloquist act going on here. Was my mouth moving quick enough? Thank you very much for sharing that. And you know, you're right. We do have to continue on, and I certainly do not want to imply to you that what I see, if my saying to you that I think that we won't completely turn it around, if that saddens your heart, then maybe it'll make you do something about it. I share what this gentleman said. I share his thoughts completely. We do have to turn it around. We do have to work. Men, women, children, all of us. But now here's an interesting phenomena. We keep talking about empowering women and women turning things around. Did you know in spirit, you're not necessarily male or female? Did you know in spirit there's no such thing as race? There are no religious preferences. There are no prejudices. You can manifest yourself and your image in a male or female appearance if you want to, but we all have the male-female capability. So if we say we're going to empower women, we are really empowering all of us, each of us, because I'm here to tell you, some of you big, good-looking, strapping men out there have been women in other lives. Probably wore your pumps better than I do. So let's not just empower us women. Let us women empower you men, and let's all do it together. Okay? We probably are going over our time. How are we doing? Oh, I'm sorry. It was up a long time ago. Well, Dean did say earlier that we had an advantage, that as long as the chairs were still full, I could talk. And he said if they started yawning and getting up, I ought to hush and go home. So it's up to you. You want to stay a little while longer? Okay. All right, well, throw some questions out. What do you want to talk about? Earth changes. How many people in here believe in the verbiage, earth changes? How many people think there is such a thing that is going to take place, that the earth is going to go through some changes and might even be a reconfiguration of the continents and different things? A lot of you believe that? Do you think we can change it or turn it around? Not completely. And yes, we can turn it around. I'd have to agree with you. I'd have to say that there are some things that we can change. But you know, billions of years ago, when you had the Ice Age and those things took place, there was not a lot we could do to change that, and that completely changed the surface of the earth. It covered up a lot of civilizations and cities and whatever. So some of it we can change and some we can't. Why would we want to change it? I'm sorry? Lessen the loss of life. Is life really lost? No. It might make a transition. So that's a good point and a valid point up to a point. You think we can control nature? You think we can? Oh, our ego does get in the way a lot, doesn't it? We see ourselves. You know, if you really want to know who you are, if you really want to put yourself in a proper perspective, if you really want to know your worth, if you really want to know what you're all about, let me tell you what's a good thing to do. Get into a meditative state. Move yourself out into the universe. Just visualize yourself out in the dark part of the sky. Look back at the planet Earth. See if you can find yourself. You're not even that big. We are so small and so insignificant in the scheme of things, but yet we are so great and so powerful in the scheme of things. And we can make things change. And one of the things that's going to take place, remember we talked earlier about the 1,000 years and some of the things that are going to be taking place. One of the things that I have seen that we will be able to do, we will manifest. Our energy, our thought will manifest. It will materialize. It will create. You see, we have that capability inside right now, but we don't do it because we don't think we can do it. So you've got to get out of that mindset. What do you think about the high lamas and these high holy people that sit on the mountaintops and can reach up into the air and pull rocks out of the air, or apples that are cold when you get them? Been there, huh? What do you think about those people today on the face of the earth that can do that? Do you think it's magic, or have they perhaps allowed their mind sync to move above and beyond the clutter of today, and they accept the fact that they are powerful beings that can manifest and can create? I'm telling you, that person is no more special than you are. They have no greater gift than you do. They just accept it. They just do it and they move on with it. Question in back.
Yes, have you ever been to hell and is it going to be destroyed?
Wait a minute. Did he say, have I been, or go there? What?
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Boy, that's an interesting one. The question was, have I ever been to hell? You've been to Georgia in the summer? Fighting gnats, sweating so bad you can't stand it. And who was it that said, you know, everywhere you go in the world, you got to go through Atlanta. And somebody made the joke one time, said, you know, if you go into hell, you got to go Atlanta, Georgia first, connect on some plane. I'm sorry I'm making light of your question, but that question has a lot of different answers. First of all, let's digress a little bit, and let's say, is there such a thing as good and evil? Is there an evil? Is there a negative? Is there a dark? There is an opposite to absolutely everything. Everything. If there is an up, there's what? If there's a hot, there's a. If there's a good, there's. Okay. You can call bad whatever you want to call it. Loosely, we refer to it as hell or whatever. And hell can be a lot of things to a lot of people, and it can be in a lot of places. And I got to tell you that a lot of what we're living and doing today in this physical life is as much hell as some of us will have to see. But is there a place that is the hellfire and brimstone, the one we kind of hear about? There is such a place. I have seen it. But I can tell you that darkness, evil, hell, negative, none of those things will have any more power in your life and in your being than you allow it to have. Now, there are some people who don't recognize that there is a dark side of anything. And if you don't want to recognize that there's a dark side to anything, that is quite all right. But the only thing that I would say about that is this: at least allow yourself the knowledge of knowing it's there so you can decide that I don't want to be there, or I don't want any part of that. Now, how did I wind up in hell? It's that inquisitive mind of mine. It's that time when I ask questions maybe when I ought not to. But you see, I don't think that I can stand up in front of you and talk about these things if I don't know what they are. And I got to tell you, I don't read the books. I didn't read it in the book, and I'm not going to tell you anything I read in the book. If I didn't see it, do it, touch it, know it, I'm not going to tell it to you. And I know that that's an issue. I know that that's a concern, and I know that that's tied to our religious thoughts and processes. So it's an issue that we need to address and discuss. So I said, Father, I'd like to go to hell. Be careful what you ask for. You might just get it. I did make a journey. I did ask for protection. I did have the most extraordinary soul to take me in. I did see it. I did see what it can be. I will tell you it's not always that way. And again, it is a lot to do with you. And you know, let's talk about being good and bad, and let's talk about, you know, maybe you slapped your child. Maybe you roughed up your child a little bit, and maybe you weren't the best parent, and maybe you think you're going to hell because of that. If you've done something that you feel real bad about, if there is an issue that you need forgiveness for goodness sakes, deal with it now. Don't wait till later. When you cross over into spirit, all those things that are in your mind right now, they say you can't take it with you, but you do take it with you, and here's what you take. The mind, the memory, the thought process, whatever you've been, whatever you've done, you're going to take it with you and you're going to deal with it. So if you've been a person that's a little less than perfect and a little less than the best, go ahead and deal with it now. Ask for forgiveness, forgive yourself, and move on. Hell is a relative issue. We get to the other side, we judge ourselves. We get the life review, and we judge ourselves. Not very often does a person move to a hellfire and brimstone, but I do know that there are some people who have done such horrific deeds here that they themselves have judged themselves in such a manner that that was where they wound up. So I wanted to see it. I wanted to know it. I wanted to understand it. I wanted to know what could be the worst possible thing if you were in the absence of all the greater good, what would be the worst that there could be. And I did see a place that, not necessarily fire that you would know and understand, but it's a fire that burns, that doesn't consume. And again, everybody doesn't have that. Understand that. And I don't want to paint that kind of picture for you. I'm just explaining what was there. But I did go through and I did see it, and I did see souls that were lost, that were in pain, and there were angels that went through, and I saw the utterance of the heart of these souls saying, I am so sorry and I forgive myself. And the moment they did it, everything was taken away from them. They no longer were in that kind of environment. It was over and it was done. But yes, there can be that kind of environment. It does not happen that often. If you've done something that is bad enough that you think you might wind up there, deal with it now. Don't take it with you. It will be a whole lot worse. We've got folks lining up on the wall, so I guess we've got questions over there.
We sure do.
All right.
My name is Michael Russ.
Hi, Michael.
I've got a lot of information about our sun. Drum Below Melchizedek says that it blew up in 1972, August 7th. Alex Collier has information about our sun with sunspots at 19.5 degrees, which correlates to the star's tetrahedral energies around our sun. There are scientists all over the planet that are diagnosing different frequencies out of our sun. Could you share with us what is happening with our sun? Thank you very much.
There are changes going on all over the universe. There is a tremendous realignment of vibrations and energy that's affecting a lot of things. The sun has been affected, the moon has been affected, most of the planets are showing some signs of this because the entire universe is being affected by the vibration. Some of it shows up a little bit clearer than other places. Some of it's not quite so evident, but it's just part of universal changes, part of realignment of vibration, part of raising the vibratory rate to a higher rate.
I don't know if I've got a question, but I've got a reaction, and I'm hoping you'll react to my reaction.
Okay, I'll try.
One of the things I'm kind of hearing here is it doesn't look like a real bright future. And then you've got different dynamics going on. I mean, you know, people kind of get depressed about it. They don't want to look at what's going on. And they just want something more pleasant to look at. But then, what is our duty? What is our moral responsibility? Do we still have that in the 90s? I mean, does that still exist?
That's universal. It's something that always has been, always will be. Your duty, your responsibility is to be the best you can be, to do the most that you can do, to extend the most love in whatever way you can, but to be the very best you can be at whatever it is you're going to do. And I hope that I have not painted so dark a picture that you are going to be depressed and you're going to go home and or go to bed tonight and you're going to worry about that. I'm only trying to tell you some of the realities as the realities exist right now, but something you've got to understand is that truths now can change. Knowledge and awareness is what helps that to change. And some of the earth changes, some of these predictions that we hear about, some of these horrible things that are happening, the dates and the time frames, like what's going to happen in 2003 and 4 and whatever, those things move back and forth like the tide does. And one thing that I've seen is that the more aware that people are, the more knowledgeable they are, the more concerned they are, that care, concern, and love pushes that away from us. It has not necessarily completely ended it, but it has in fact changed the possibility of it coming, and sometimes will lessen the intensity of it. So I do know that while it sounds like it's a bad thing, I do know that we can make changes and we can affect it, and we should try. We should never give up.